Okay, so Don't Look Up is technically about a comet, but calling it just a disaster movie is like calling climate change a weather thing. Because what this film actually captures, in a way that's both hilarious and horrifying, is how we've become so good at ignoring reality that we'll literally watch the world end while arguing about whether it's even happening. And that's the part that hits different. We talk about misinformation, denial, distraction, but we don't talk enough about what happens when the truth is right there, undeniable, and we still choose to look away. So instead of reviewing this movie scene by scene, I want to talk about 5 brutal life lessons Don't Look Up nails about truth, denial, and what it actually takes to face reality when everyone around you is pretending everything's fine. The first lesson is the hardest one. Being right doesn't make people listen. Leonardo DiCaprio's character discovers a planet-killing comet. He has the data. He has the proof. He has the urgency. And nobody cares. Not because the evidence isn't there, but because caring is inconvenient. And honestly, that's the most frustrating part of being right about something important. You think facts will win. You think if you just explain it clearly enough, show the numbers, present the evidence, people will get it. But they won't. Because most people don't reject the truth because they don't understand it. They reject it because accepting it would require them to change. I've seen this in smaller ways, not world-ending comets, but personal truths. Telling a friend their relationship is toxic. Pointing out that someone's career path isn't working. Explaining that a habit is slowly destroying them. And they nod, they agree, and then they do nothing. Because the truth isn't the hard part. The hard part is what comes after the truth. The discomfort, the change, the admission that you've been wrong. So the brutal takeaway? Stop expecting people to thank you for being right. Most of the time, they'll resent you for it. Lesson 2. Distraction is the most effective form of denial. In the movie, the comet is coming. Everyone knows it's coming. But instead of dealing with it, people argue about celebrities, political scandals, trending topics, anything but the actual problem. And that's not fiction. That's Tuesday. We live in a world where we can know something is urgent and still scroll past it. Climate change? Yeah, but did you see that TikTok? Mental health crisis? Sure, but let's talk about the latest drama. Economic collapse? Okay, but first, this meme. It's not that we don't care. It's that caring is exhausting. So we choose distraction. We choose the thing that feels manageable, the thing that doesn't require us to sit with the weight of something we can't immediately fix. I've done this. We all have. Ignoring the bank account, avoiding the doctor, putting off the hard conversation. Not because we don't know it's important, but because not knowing feels easier than knowing and not being able to fix it. But here's the thing. Distraction doesn't make the problem go away. It just makes the eventual reckoning worse. So the real question isn't, are you paying attention? It's, what are you using to avoid paying attention? Lesson 3. People will choose comfort over survival if survival sounds too hard. There's a scene where people are offered a chance to actually deal with the comet. But it's complicated. It's expensive. It requires sacrifice. So instead, they choose the easy lie. The one that says everything will be fine if we just wait a little longer. And that's the most human thing in the world. We know we should save money, but we buy the thing. We know we should exercise, but we skip the gym. We know we should have the hard conversation, but we wait. We know we should change, but change is uncomfortable. And comfort, even temporary destructive comfort, feels better than the fear of the unknown. I've watched people stay in jobs that are killing them because quitting feels scarier. Stay in relationships that are over because being alone feels worse. Keep habits that are slowly destroying them because the idea of stopping feels impossible. And the worst part? We're not stupid. We know what we're doing. We just convince ourselves that later is a real plan. But later isn't a plan. Later is just denial with a calendar. Lesson 4 might be the most depressing. The people in charge are not equipped to handle the crisis. In the movie, the leaders are more concerned with polls, optics, and profit than the actual comet. And you watch it thinking, this is satire. But then you remember the last few years and realize, this is just reality with better lighting. The people making the decisions aren't the smartest people in the room. They're the loudest, the most confident, the ones who know how to perform competence without actually being competent. And that applies way beyond politics. It's in workplaces, in relationships, in families. The person who should be leading isn't. The person who's leading shouldn't be. And everyone just goes along with it because challenging authority feels risky. I've been in meetings where the person with the least experience talks the most. I've watched people get promoted not because they're good, but because they're good at looking good. I've seen entire systems collapse because the people in charge were more worried about looking right than being right. And the brutal truth? Most of the time, we don't get the leaders we need. We get the leaders we tolerate. The last lesson is the one that stays with me the most. At some point, you have to accept that you can't save people who don't want to be saved. By the end of the movie, the characters realize the comet is coming. People know. And they still won't act. And at some point, you have to stop trying to convince them and just save yourself. And that's the hardest lesson of all. Because we want to believe that if we just explain it one more time, show one more piece of evidence, make one more plea, they'll get it. But they won't. Not because they can't, because they don't want to. And you can't force someone to care. You can't logic someone into survival. You can't love someone into change. I've had to learn this the hard way. With friendships that were one-sided, with family members who refused help, with people I cared about who were determined to self-destruct. And at some point, you realize you can't save them. You can only save yourself. And that's not selfish. That's survival. Because the alternative is going down with them. And that doesn't help anyone. So yeah, Don't Look Up is technically about a comet. But really? It's about how we handle truth. How we choose distraction over discomfort. How we pick comfort over survival. How we tolerate incompetence. And how, eventually, we have to accept that some people will choose denial all the way to the end, which is brutal, but also kind of necessary. Because the alternative, pretending everything's fine while the world burns, that's not hope. That's just cowardice with better PR. If this movie hit you the way it hit me, let me know. And if one of these lessons felt a little too close to home, well, you're not alone. That's kind of the point.